Hello, everyone.
Hey guys, on today's podcast, we are going to be talking all about boot camp.
But before we get to that, we want to make sure that you hit the like button, and we are almost to 2,000 subscribers. So if you really want to see me smile, make sure to hit that subscribe button so you can help us hit 2,000 subscribers.
And if you want to delve deeper into the topic of domestic discipline, want to get bonus resources, and support the channel, a link to our Patreon is down below. Now, the last thing we did during our boot camp was we really wanted to solidify how we approached punishment.
Yeah.
Because if you've listened to the podcast recently, you'll know that we have kind of been on this journey of trying to figure out how to make punishments severe, how to make them not worth it, but also how to approach that in a way that makes sense for us. Mm-hmm. And so we've tried a few different things, and we went into boot camp thinking that we knew exactly what we wanted to do.
Yep.
We did want to revisit and implement that we tried, it went terribly. And so it's just kind of been sitting for a while, and we wanted to revisit that implement and see if we were at a point now where we could use that again.
Use that, yeah.
And so the implement that's been sitting is it's considered a loop, but it's a twisted loop. And before we started using a cane, it was just such a different sensation that it really did not go well the first time we tried it. And so now that we've been using a cane, I was like, okay, I kind of know what to expect from that sensation. I don't think you know how to deliver.
Yes. Yes.
With an implement like that.
Yep.
And so we decided that now was the time that we needed to revisit that. And so we had just planned on doing one punishment during this boot camp. Because my punishments are more severe, we didn't want to, put my body through something that was just physically too much.
Right.
By doing multiple punishments, especially if they weren't earned.
Yes.
Like, if I legitimately earned multiple punishments, I don't think that Coda would have any reservation about giving me multiple punishments.
Definitely not.
But since they weren't earned, since these were planned for a purpose, we were like, okay, we'll just do one punishment. And we did that punishment. We used the loop, and because of the past experience, we were a little conservative with it.
We were.
And I think we both walked away from that punishment just not feeling satisfied with the experience.
No, and it wasn't terrible. Like, I don't want to say it just went totally off the rails, but we left going, okay, there's still some things that we need to tweak, for sure.
And it felt short.
Yes.
It did feel short. And so we were talking afterwards, and I was just like, it was very intense, but it felt short. Mm-hmm. Also, you were being a little conservative with the intensity that you were using the loop.
Uh-huh.
Because you didn't want to have a repeat of a bad experience. What had happened,
exactly.
And so we were talking afterwards, and we had planned that. So we did the planned punishment that first day. And so the third day, we were either going to do a correction or maintenance just to kind of cap off the whole program, the whole boot camp. And we decided collectively, because of the feedback, because of how we were both feeling from that first day, we decided that we would actually repeat a punishment process.
Yep. That
third day. And that was really intense because I was still sore from the first day. And you did not hold back.
Nope, I did not.
And because it was important that we go through this process, it was important that Coda really make sure that this whole punishment process was going to work for us.
The new system, that it was going to work.
And so you did not hold back. We did adjust the time slightly because we do a timed system and then we do a counted system in our punishments. And so you did adjust the time slightly just to account.
Just slightly to account for that. But overall, there really wasn't much of a tweak.
And so you get through the timed section, and then it gets to, you use now for a standard punishment, it's going to be 4 implements. And so for the time system, it's a shorter acrylic paddle. And you really do like that one, don't you?
I do. I like that one a lot. That's my favorite.
And then, but after you get through that, then you do have a longer acrylic paddle that you deliver. For punishments, it's 20 with that. And you up the intensity with those quite a bit.
Yes.
It's
I make
a lot.
sure the intensity builds in this because I feel like that it needs to be that way. I used to be the kind of guy that was like, the intensity needs to be big at the beginning and then taper off. That doesn't work.
Oh, no.
And it doesn't especially work for Arya. It's got to get more intense. So by the end of it, she's definitely saying, I never want to have this happen ever again.
And it's not that you start at a lower intensity. You start at a
No, it's still a pretty high intensity. Yes, thank you for clarifying that. Yes.
It's a pretty high intensity. It just gets more.
It just gets more, right.
And so we get through the long paddle, and then it gets time. And one of the things that we talked about, because for the first punishment, we just used the loop.
Right, yes.
For this one, we decided that, like, in order to make it longer and more intense, you did the cane and the loop.
And the loop.
And
right.
so you start with the cane because for me, the cane is not quite as severe as the loop.
And I would agree with that. I think that's exactly how the implements need to step up for intensity as well.
And so you started with the cane, and you gave like 30 on each side, so 60 total with the cane. And that was what I expected, because you've gotten very comfortable with that.
Practice helps. Not on her. Yes, I have.
When I give you the opportunity.
Yes, but there's been other things that I've done to practice. So.
And then we went into the loop, and on the first day, we just did 15 on each side, and that we just felt like that was way too conservative.
Yeah.
And so this time we made the number match the cane, so it was 30 on each side, and 60 total with the loop as well. And you gave it at the same intensity that you used the cane.
Yes, I did.
And that was helpful, but boy, was that intense.
But I think Ari can tell you, like, by the end of that second time that we had done punishment, she definitely said, this was intense enough, this was long enough, that this is going to make me want to obey.
Yes.
Like, I don't want to go through this. This is not fun. And that's the point, by the way. That's the point of doing these in a boot camp, is so that you not only solidify the process, but you're taken in hand, head of household says, okay, we've got this to the point where this is going to deter me from wanting to break the rules. That is the point.
Now, up to this point, I've done a really good job of avoiding punishment. And so it was important for me to feel what a full punishment felt like again, so that I could remember why I try so hard to avoid them. Now, since we've redone our rules and we've redone like the structure of, you've pre-decided what's a punishment, we'll see if that trend continues. I really hope it does.
She's been doing good so far, by the way.
We'll see once life kind of starts throwing stuff
back again, right.
But I've done a really good job of avoiding punishment, so I needed to feel that, what does a full punishment feel like, so that I could have the proper motivation moving forward to really try, like very intentionally try to follow the rules that we've set.
One of the things I want to bring up too is that we did do a lecture time at the very beginning of punishment, and you may be saying, well, she didn't really have a violation. It was just part of boot camp. What I did was in the lecture, and Aria will tell you, is I took the things that we were trying to really emphasize in boot camp, and I lectured her on those. Like, you are about to get this punishment because I expect in the future for you to do this, for you to do this, for you to do this without question. And I think, and that was good too, because it helped me practice the lecturing process and realize it doesn't need to be long. It doesn't need to be drawn out. It needs to be concise and direct. And that was really helpful for me. I don't know if that was for you.
It was so helpful for me because I think that one of the things that really was hard about our punishments before was that you really tried to emphasize a lot of lecture.
Yeah. Yeah.
And almost to the point where you were looking for points to make. Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
And because you were trying to find points to make, sometimes your words lost a lot of meaning.
Yes, right. Absolutely.
And sometimes you would say things that would come off as not hard for me to take as in I'm being lectured, but you would almost make me feel bad. Right.
It was almost a way, instead of a lecture, it came off as almost
well, I guess, for example, if you're okay with me using this, I can cut it if you're not. But as an example, there was one time that you basically conveyed in your lecture how inconvenient it was.
Yeah, no, that's I think that's a good example of what I didn't mean to come across with, but it felt that way for you, I bet.
Well, and I think that you were I'd rather be doing anything else right now. You would say things like that, and it was more to convey that I think the point you were going for was that this was causing dissension in our relationship.
Yes, that's what I meant to convey, yeah.
And that's why the punishment was necessary, was to fix that dissension.
Right.
But what it came off as is, I don't really want to be doing this, and you're making me.
Right.
And then that would make me feel awful, not awful for my behavior, but awful from the standpoint that I felt like this wasn't something that you really wanted to do.
Right.
And that caused a lot of miscommunication, a lot of kind of rifts in our relationship.
Absolutely.
And it was just unnecessary to say.
Yeah.
And so by shortening the lecture, you say exactly what is necessary and nothing more. And you are maintaining authority, because when you conveyed I'd rather be doing anything else right now, it made me feel like you didn't have authority in that situation because I was the one that was actually
inconvenienced.
Well, no, I was the one that was making the situation happen, rather than you stepping in with leadership and saying, this is what's happening because I will not allow. It was more of well, you did this, now I have to punish you. Which,
by the way, this rule book that we're putting together helps with that as well. Believe it or not, it helps in the lecture. Because if there's a violation that happens under our pillar of obedience, for example, it's really easy for me to go to say, look, you know that you were to obey what I told you to do in this scenario. I expect that to happen. It just, all of a sudden, it was wow, it just kind of makes everything fall into place for me. I don't have to think about or even try to, make her feel bad or whatever that is. It makes the lecture very straightforward, very concise, and it does the punishment as well.
Mm-hmm. And I think you realize that I already feel remorse.
She already feels remorse. Exactly.
You don't have to kind of drive that home. You don't have to
so true.
Cut to my emotional response.
Right, exactly. No, that's so true. So true.
And it makes it to where you can set the expectation that I am only to answer directly with yes, sir, or no, sir.
And here's what I realize as well. The punishment itself will bring that out. So even if, I know I've never seen this in Aria, but let's just say she was not remorseful yet, even during the lecture. The lecture is not going to bring that about. It's the punishment itself. Mm-hmm. And so that's why the lecture needs to be concise and all of that, because the real crux of getting everything back into place is the punishment itself, not necessarily the lecture.
Mm-hmm. And like I said before, when you would lecture me, it was so open-ended that it would create discussions, and then it would put me in a bad headspace to actually accept punishment, because
yeah.
I would be like defending myself and defending my behavior and getting my feelings hurt. Where now it's like, you have total authority. You are telling me exactly what I did wrong, what you expect, why it was unacceptable. I am to answer you yes sir, no sir. I am not to throw in my opinion or my justifications. It's not a time for me to defend myself. And there are certain expectations now just around that structure, and really you taking that like authoritative role in how you present the lecture has helped so much. And it made it to where a 20-minute lecture is now like 3 minutes.
It's real. It's quick. It's quick. And that's the other thing too, is that when we said we wanted to make the punishment longer, the punishment is still a lot shorter than it used to be in the past. I mean, a punishment used to take us with the lecture like an hour to an hour and 15 minutes. Now it's like 30 minutes start to finish.
Well, and that's 30 minutes start to finish with lecture.
Yes, that's what I'm saying.
With the spanking itself, and with some very basic aftercare.
Aftercare, yeah. And so to us, it was like, man, that's perfect. Because the trouble that we ran into, and I'll talk about this just quickly, was when the punishment was too long. That's why I always resorted towards correction or something else, because the punishment was way too long. I didn't want to go through it. It was, in fact, a hassle. At the same time, we didn't want the punishment to be too short, because, as Aria was saying, we wanted it to be effective to where she didn't want to do it again. If it was too short, it's not going to bring the point across. And so it had to have this right amount of time for beginning, middle, and end, so that the punishment really was effective for our relationship.
Absolutely. I think that we have kind of talked to this to death.
We've given you guys a lot of detail, though, and I hope that was helpful.
Yes. Anyway, guys, I hope that you enjoyed hearing about how we structured our boot camp and how we use the planned punishment to really solidify our punishment process, and how that really helped us kind of move forward in our goals.
I know it was a lot of detail, but again, we hope it was helpful. So we'll see you later.
Bye.